two, one.
Hi everyone, this is Victoria Wolders, your My Kids Locker Empathy Tales podcast host. We're so happy that you joined us today for another story that is hoping to create compassion one story at a time. If you'd like to connect with me on my website at mykidslocker.com, I would love for you to subscribe and learn more about what I'm doing as a mother, teacher, and a mindful educational storyteller. Well, today's story is called The Gray Grabbers. For those that are unfamiliar with these stories, all of the stories are based around the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. The Gray Grabbers were a group of people in a village who were cursed and put under the water, and they were not allowed to go above the water. However, they could put their hands above the water. Now, in this story, just so you know, is this very cute intro with my son, James. He does start telling a little bit of the story at about the 9-minute mark, but it goes on to me continuing to tell the story. For those people who might be a little bit leery about claws, you might want to skip this story. I did want to include this part of the story just because my son James is trying to experiment with his creativity and wants to share a little bit of his story, of his perspective of what the Gray Grabbers are. So as long as you're patient and you enjoy the 9-minute to 10-minute mark, you'll get a little bit of commentary from my son. Well, I won't wait anymore because I know you're excited to listen to another Empathy Tales podcast. Without further ado, if you are all comfortable, then I will begin.
Hello guys, welcome back to another Empathy Tales with James. Today I have a little sneak peek for on episode 100 what we will be doing. Trailer starts in 3, 2, 1. Beyond the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. They thought there was only a small part of the world that they've discovered. But beyond the north, beyond the west, beyond the east, beyond the south, there is a farther land that has not been discovered. Join us on episode 100 to see the awesome adventures of Beyond the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. That's your trailer. Okay, on to the Empathy Tales now.
And we gotta say dun dun dun.
You're bad.
Okay, so here we are, and we are at episode 78, I think. Might be episode 79. Shoot. Oh well. It's either 78 or 79. And we are sitting here in December.
It's only almost Christmas. One more week of school if you're watching this.
It's December 15th. Sunday, December 15th. And today we are going to be doing an empathy tale. And this empathy tale is called The Gray Grabbers.
Yep.
Dun dun dun.
Based off of the Grabbers from
another episode.
From a story before the Oak and Eagle Kingdom called The Princess Story. Join us for an epic adventure that's already been told, so you're never going to hear it again.
Okay. Here we go. The Gray Grabbers. Once upon a time, a long time ago, in the land of the Oak and Eagle Kingdom, there lived some trolls, and these trolls lived in the Water Troll Kingdom, and it was a family of trolls. There was a mom, a dad, and 2 brothers, and each of them had very unique personalities. The mother was very prim and proper, so they called her Prim. And the father was very proper and prim, so they called him Proper.
Prim.
And the younger sons, the two sons that they had, were named Anne and Andy. So it was Prim and Proper, Andy and Andy.
Join us for adventure today on
So they all lived in the Water Troll Kingdom, and they just all didn't like living down in the Water Troll Kingdom. They felt that they never really got to see the light, and they were kind of forced to live down in the Water Troll Kingdom because they were trolls, and everyone in the Oaken Eagle Kingdom did not prefer to have trolls living in their villages. So they were forced to live down below. Well, they proceeded to build a little home in one of the tunnels, and they chose that they were going to move to a different tunnel. So as the weeks went by, they found a new tunnel and they started to dig. And of course, when water trolls dig, they often find treasures. Well, this was a very interesting treasure because they started digging and they noticed that there was some black, jagged obsidian that they had found. And they took it and they thought, wow, this is really interesting. And the father, Proper, said, oh, I don't know if you want to take that. That's a sign of the grabbers. And of course, Anne and Andy said, what do you mean? The grabbers? What are the grabbers? Well, a long time ago when the Oaken Eagle Kingdom was forming, there were these gray grabbers, and they originated from being people who lived in a valley. And when they lived in a valley, they used to grow these beautiful aspen trees, and these aspen trees only grew in this particular valley. And the aspen trees often had obsidian as their roots, and it was a very unique aspen tree. It was called the obsidian aspen, and the trees were black and they were sharp, and yet they were so beautiful. But what happened was the wizard of the Northern Eagle got upset with these gray grabbers, which were people who lived in this gray grabber village, and he flooded their land. But he flooded their land so quickly that they did not want to leave their obsidian aspen trees. So they decided to hang on to them. And because
because they've been eating those food from the trees so long, they've adjusted to their humanist rays and grew razor sharp claws from their...
Right, and their eyes were as dark as black, like obsidian. And their tongues were as sharp as swords. Now, I'm not talking about their physical tongues. What I'm talking about is when they talked. They were sharp and they were abrupt. They were angry.
And sometimes...
So the wizard allowed them to breathe underwater. And what would happen is they lived in a village under the water in now what was the Grey Grabbers Lake, which was a huge, big lake. And sometimes you'd see these random black obsidian aspen branches floating. And on occasion, if you happen to cross on a boat on the Grey Grabbers Lake, and it was a full moon, if you look down, you could see them living down there. And sometimes, if they became angry, they sometimes would dip your boat and pull you down, and you would have to live in the Grey Grabbers Lake forever. Well, what happened was Prim and Proper and Andy, the trolls, realized that they found some obsidian, and they realized that they were directly under the Grey Grabbers Lake. So what happened is they started to grab all these different pieces of obsidian. They started to realize that they should give them back to the obsidian aspen trees, because even though they were underwater, they may need them to plant, because every time you planted a obsidian rock, an obsidian aspen tree would grow. So they built up their bags with all these beautiful pieces of obsidian, and they stood on the edge of the Grey Grabbers lake, and they realized that even though they called out their names, no one was coming. So they decided to borrow a boat, and they went into the middle of the lake. And James can tell us what happens next.
Next, as they're sailing out to shore, and the grabbers started flooding onto the boat.
But luckily Prim was able to swim, and she was able to get away. And she was able to swim to the corner of the lake, and she ended up getting out. Now, because they were trolls, they were very small-legged. And so now she had three family members that were caught in the Grey Grabbers village. So what did she do? She went and found the Wizard of the Northern Eagle. She said, I have a bag of black obsidian. I would need my family back. If I give this to you, will you be able to get my family back? And the wizard said, oh, the Grey Grabbers, they're not nice people. And Prim said, or how do you know that? You don't really know them, and how can you judge them when you don't know them? And he said, well, of course, because they weren't very nice to me years and years ago, and that's why I flooded their land. And she said, well, why don't you come, and why don't you go talk to them? So she gave him all the obsidian, and he agreed that he was going to go find the three. So he went back to the lake, and as they were going to the lake, he noticed some people who were standing on the side of the lake. And they said, we noticed that the grabbers have changed over the years. They love each other, they care for each other deeply, and they are much happier under the water. And the Wizard of the Northern Eagle turned to Prim and said, maybe they don't need rescuing after all. And then he called to them in a melodic voice, Grey Grabbers, where are you? The full moon shining, come to the beach. And they waited there.
A sharp hand came grabbing at the wizard's foot and dragged him underneath the water.
And Prim was there, and she tried to grab the wizard, but she couldn't. So they were both dragged under, down. Luckily, this water they were able to breathe in, and they found themselves in the small castle in the bottom of the lake. That was the obsidian tree castle made of black obsidian. You had to be careful not to cut yourself because it was so sharp. And in the throne room was the Grey Grabbers obsidian king, and there he sat. And he said, you have cursed our village, but yet we have found great connection through that curse. We have come to know you better and deeper. And with that, the wizard said, I'm sorry, I realized that I should have never cursed you so bad that you'd have to live under here. And the king said, actually, we are happy that you did that. We are at a point now where we enjoy living under here. The only thing is that we would like to, on occasion, come up on land and be able to breathe and live and choose to come back and forth. And the wizard said, yes, you can. But at this point, I'm going to give you some black obsidian so you can plant more aspen trees. And so your members of your family and your villagers can climb up on the aspen tree and go to the tip of the lake. And I would like our friends, Proper and Andy, to come. And so at that point, the king released the three others. And there were more obsidian aspen trees planted on that ground and under the lake that day, and they grew. And over the years, what would happen was Prim and Proper and Andy would come to the lakeside, and they would see all the gray grabbers waving their hands and standing on the very tops of those obsidian aspen trees. And they realized the importance of how community and communication and care is an important part of living day to day. The end. And do you have anything else, Dad?
Bud. So in about 20 episodes, we will be doing Beyond the Okanagan Kingdom. And during we might be doing some spoilers, so be paying attention during while you're listening to your Empathy Tales. And yeah, good night.
Good night. Signing off. Story of the Gray Grabbers. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for another Empathy Tales podcast episode. This is Victoria Wolders, your host, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and to reflect on what it means to be empathetic, compassionate, and show perspective taking. In today's story, The Gray Grabbers, we learn a little bit about the story of Prim and Proper and their two sons. And we learn a little bit about the mysterious underwater village. Well, I hope that you enjoyed today's story, and I hope that you will take some time to reach out to me at mykidslocker.com. Well, until next time, I hope you too will be able to create compassion one story at a time. Until then, have a wonderful day or night. Take care. This is Victoria Wolders signing off.